One afternoon in the late 1940s, Charles Hamilton Houston returned to his law firm furious. He had just come from a Washington, D.C. restaurant that catered to the legal community. The white judges, their clerks, and white lawyers sat and ate. But because he was black, Houston could not sit. He had to take his food to go. He returned to the office, threw his lunch on the floor before everybody, and burst into tears, vowing that this discrimination would end. We take our name from this great human being. Today, he is an icon of civil rights, excellent lawyering, and perseverance in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds. But we should remember that he laughed and cried out his frustrations like the rest of us. While much has changed since that afternoon in the late 1940s, too much has stayed the same. This past May, the Charles Houston Bar Association turned 65 years old. The year 2020 is a heck of a year to become a senior citizen. But to mark this milestone, I've been asked to say a few words and show a few images of our shared history. We are all part of a still unfolding story. When California became a state in 1850, there were organized movements to keep all blacks, free or slave, out of California. The first state governor, Peter Burnett, led the charge. And when that failed, the legislature enacted harsh laws that were intentionally inhospitable to blacks and to native peoples. Next to a fugitive slave law, the most worrisome law to the African American pioneers of California was the law that made us incompetent to give testimony in court against a party if that party was white. The criminal statute is shown here and is referred to as the 14th section of the Act of April 16, 1850 regarding criminal proceedings. As you can see, Section 14 provides that no black or mulatto person or Indian shall be permitted to give evidence in favor of or against any white person. Every person who shall have 1/8 part or more of Negro blood shall be deemed a mulatto. This law continued through the Civil War and was only invalidated by the 14th Amendment. Before that time, these laws obviously deprived blacks of any hope of justice through the courts. In fact, we had few opportunities to participate in the justice system at all. We were not being called to juries. We had no black judges. At that time, we were also disqualified from becoming lawyers. Only white males were eligible to practice in the state. Section 275, shown here, once provided that any white male citizen who has satisfied certain qualifications would be entitled to admission as attorney and counselor in all the courts of California. Now, this law continued until 1878, when the term any white male citizen was changed to simply any citizen, as shown here. While the law changed in 1878 to permit any citizen to qualify to practice, the prejudice was so great that few blacks could actually take advantage of the opportunity. Finally, almost 10 years later, in 1887, a man named Robert Charles O'Hara Benjamin showed up in California. He was a lawyer and a staunch advocate for his race. He had traveled all over the country, but around 1887 spent some time in Southern California and in San Francisco. In 1897, Washington J. Oglesby started practicing in the police courts of Oakland. This article describes him as the colored lawyer, giving you some idea of the novelty of a black lawyer in the day. Tom Pearson became the first black to practice in the Northern California Federal District Court in 1905. George Washington Young, after relocating from Kentucky, became the first black to practice in Contra Costa County in 1906. And Lawrence Sledge, one of our oldest law club founders, started practicing around this same time. Now, here and there, black lawyers slowly started to show up, but we were few. Annie Virginia Stevens Coker is the first African-American woman attorney in California. She graduated from Both Hall in 1929 and later had a career in Sacramento, indexing laws for the state legislature. Judge Brenda Hobben-Forte has researched and written about her life. Tabitha Anderson attended Hastings for her 1L year, then transferred to Howard Law, where she studied under Dean Charles Houston. She returned to San Francisco, passed the bar on the first try, opened a private practice, and was soon thereafter elected president of the San Francisco NAACP. The State Bar of California identifies Oscar Hudson as one of, if not the first African-American admitted to a private bar association when he was admitted to practice by the First Appellate District Court of Appeals in 1911. He was a criminal defense lawyer, fluent in Spanish and Italian, who had an office on Market Street in San Francisco. In 1919, he was appointed foreign consul for the Republic of Liberia at the Port of Oakland by President Woodrow Wilson. Leonard Richardson graduated from Hastings College of the Law. Financially, he was probably the most successful black attorney practicing in all of Northern California. He remained active in the NAACP for his entire professional life, both in Oakland and in Los Angeles. It wasn't until 1955 that 32 black lawyers in the Bay Area started meeting as a law club. Founder Richard Bancroft suggested they take the name of Charles Hamilton Houston. This club was an oasis for these lawyers to bond over their shared experience in a profession that was not embracing them. They met at each other's homes and at restaurants. They did barbecues and house parties, events that eventually ripened into traditions we still hold on to today.
We organized a club when we took the Charles Houston. We took that name because all of us were very conscious of the fact that we were social engineers. You're talking about a city of Oakland with more than 12 to 15 active lawyers. And I was the youngest of the bunch. You had Tom Berkeley, John Henderson, George Vons, Lionel Wilson, Cecil Poole. But if I kept counting, it'd be about 15. So we formed for one reason, simply to be able to impress the black community as well as the white, that we weren't invisible men.
In 1973, Benjamin Travis became president of the law club. Bob Harris was his vice president. These two, along with others, led a charge for the law club to become much more. The club reorganized as a bar association, now recognized under the California State Bar and as an affiliate of the National Bar Association. This new bar association was one of action, challenging leaders to demand more diversity in government, defending the NAACP, and speaking out against discrimination wherever it was seen. Today, at 65, the Charles Houston Bar Association remains a powerhouse bar association that is still purposeful in its work. Every year, we profit from the dedication of our Charles Houston Bar Association leadership, the numerous events they put on, and the work they do to support the broad mission of the organization. The law club that began as a necessity continues to be relevant as ever today. Folks, we still have work to do. We stand on the shoulders of many whose sacrifices have made our lives possible, and we have no right to forget this history.